Guys, hello and welcome to the first episode ever of The Balanced Business Dad. So what is The Balanced Business Dad? Honestly, The Balanced Business Dad is just a conversation that focuses on the balance of the important pillars of the life of the everyday dad. Guys, my name's Dustin, and I am a husband, I'm a father, I'm a coach, I'm a real estate investor, I'm a serial entrepreneur. And I just want to come out to the world and let us know that, hey, there are other dads out here that we are seeking this balance. We are striving for this balance in these pillars of life. The pillars that I say that are important are going to be that faith, health, marriage, fatherhood, brotherhood, career/business, in that order. And guys, that's what this is all going to be about. It's going to be how we can help each other strive for that balance that we're all looking for. Guys, again, my name is Dustin. I'm local here in the St. Louis, Missouri area, yet I am not alone. I want to introduce you to my co-host, who's an extremely good friend and honestly a mentor in my world when it comes to being a husband and a father, because I'm a young father. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 1-year-old. RJ, he's a little bit different. He's a little older than I am, so you're going to hear me make fun of that a lot because he's a lot older than I am. But my co-host, my friend, RJ.
Dustin, thank you. Sometimes I think he just calls me a mentor because he knows that I'm a lot older than he is.
That is true.
So my name's RJ, and very similar to Dustin. I'm married. I'm a father. I have 3 kids, but Dustin and I are on the opposite end of that spectrum. His kids are young. My 3 are grown. 2 are married. They're all out of the house. They're moving on with their independent lives. So we look at fatherhood from the beginning of the spectrum to later in that spectrum. I'm also different than Dustin. As he said, he's a serial entrepreneur. I've spent my life in a regular job. So you'll hear me use the term, and both of us from time to time, that I'm a W-2 employee. So I go to work every day. I get paid for going to work. So that's why we refer to that as a W-2 employee. Also, though, own a couple of businesses. I have a photography company. I'm a real estate investor, thanks to Dustin. So run those 2 companies. So that's kind of who I am. So you'll hear us talk about that a lot, as we're the young father and the older father, and how these pillars and the balance in our lives and how we strive for them, and how different pillars, you're better at one time, they're less in line of where you want to be at other times, and we'll get into that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the overarching question of this podcast is going to be, does balance exist? Yet we're all striving for it, yet can we all be balanced in every one of these important pillars of life? And again, those pillars are going to be that faith, that health, marriage, fatherhood, brotherhood, and career. In that order, I think, is really important. Guys, again, welcome to the first episode. Let's dive into these pillars. All right, guys, let's jump into these pillars that we talked about, because again, this is all about the balance between these pillars, and I believe these are pillars that we're striving to have balance for. So, guys, we're going to jump into it, and we're going to say faith. Now, when I say faith, there can be a lot of different meanings of faith, if you will. For me, my faith is, my Christianity, and I'm not saying that that's what your faith should be, but I believe that we have to have faith. We have to have faith in something to keep us going in life, and I believe that is so crucial. I mean, wouldn't you say, RJ?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And I have to go back. I want to go backwards a little bit on this, and Dustin doesn't even know about this, but this idea for this podcast is something that Dustin has had for quite a while. He's talked to me about it. He's mentioned it. And with these pillars, it makes me think of, there's a book that I read. So for people that are my age, you're going to know what this is. Dustin's going to have no idea who this person is.
Like I said, he's older.
So we think back to that great movie from the 70s, I guess, Brian's Song. The story of Brian Piccolo and Gale Sayers. Dustin doesn't know who Gale Sayers is.
Nothing.
Running back for the Chicago Bears. So people that are older know that beautiful movie, Brian's Song. So Gale Sayers, running back for the Chicago Bears, wrote his biography or autobiography that's called I Am Third. And this is what resonated with me when Dustin talked about his pillars. And Gale Sayers mentions that at one time he was meeting with a coach, and there was a plaque on the front of the coach's desk that said, I am third. And Gale asked the coach, what does that mean? And he said, that's the way I look at life. God is first, my family is second, and I am third.
Wow, that's powerful. I love that. I am third.
I am third. And he said, to me, that third, the I, is also my work and what I do for a living. That will never be ahead of my faith and where my family is. And I've always thought about that when Dustin talks about these pillars of life that he's thought about and written down and just as we talk about how do you balance them, and you're never truly in balance probably. You come into balance, you're out of balance. So anyway, that's where it really resonated with me, and that's when I said, dude, I'd love to do this podcast with you because I think it's just something that makes a lot of sense.
Wow, that's awesome. And I have no clue what movie you're talking about. I didn't even know they had movies in the 70s. No. But I love that. And it talked about in that situation, it was God, right? But it's that faith. We have to have faith in something. There's a saying that I've been taught a long time ago, and it's fear or faith you choose. Fear meaning what's the worst that can happen, and faith meaning, guys, what's the best that can happen? And I believe if we believe what's the best that can happen, we're going to line pretty close. So that's why one of the pillars that we're going to talk about, probably the most important pillar we're going to talk about, is faith and what it can do for you, what it can do for your family as the faith leader, the spiritual leader, whatever you want to call it in your household, as the dad. So dads, this is important because this is how there's something called programming as we program our children, which is really, we pray not to screw up our children, to be honestly with. Yet we can program them to have faith as well. So that's the first pillar, right? Faith. Moving on to the second one, health. Some people know this, some people don't. Health has been a huge challenge in my life, yet it's so important. And, certain pillars are going to be easier for others than not. RJ is an extreme athlete. Even though he's an old man, he's an athlete. I am not. I've had a journey over the last year where I've lost, 65 pounds and really trying to regain my health back because I realized how important it is for my young kids to see that so they live that healthy life. But guys, we have to focus on our health. And this isn't just working out. This is the food this is the stuff we put in our mind. This is the stuff we put in our body, but it's health in general.
That's a great point. We think about health as, I need to get up and run every day. I have to walk in the morning. I have to lift some weights. I have to eat the right food. But Dustin added something there that I don't even think about. It's what we put into our head, too, not just what we put into our body. The mental health.
Yeah.
All of these things, the positive thoughts, whatever that is. But I kind of forget about that part when it comes to health.
Yeah, and so true that the mental health, the mindset, guys, you'll realize that I coach on mindset. I'm a certified John Maxwell coach who's big in the mindset on because that's how we move ourselves forward. And so that health pillar, if you will, that we're going to really dive deep into encompasses all that. Guys, the third one is again, we say marriage in this pillar, but it's really that relationship with that special someone. It's the intimate relationship. And honestly, it might not have to be a serious relationship either because, I know there's plenty of dads out there right now that are, for a lack of a better word, they're starting over, right? Whatever it didn't work out with mom, yet we're starting over. Now we're looking for someone to really have that bond with. We're going to dive deep into that. I've been married, I think 6 years. Yeah, 6 years now. RJ, 77 years, something like that.
I should know this off the top of my head. 30-something, so it'll be 34 years this year. So, 33 years. So these are the ones what Dustin and I joke about when we're on the opposite end of these spectrums.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's new to this, really. At 6 years of marriage, that's a puppy.
And funny, because I was 6 when you were married. So
barely born.
Yet the challenge is that, people who got married 70 years ago or 6 years ago, there's nothing new under the sun, guys. So it's how we do that. And honestly, RJ's having, or people in his, that empty nest, if you will, those are different challenges than what I have because my nest is full right now of, kids and dogs and all this stuff that goes with it where there's different challenges when you're an empty nester. So we're going to encompass all of that. But marriage is such a huge part of this, or that intimate relationship is such a huge part of that because I believe we are designed as humans to need that relationship. Guys, the next one, which is what we talked about, which is kind of the title of this podcast, but that's fatherhood. There is not a book out there when you're getting ready to become a father that's going to teach you any of this. Guys, it's scary. It's lonely as a dad, I'm going to say, especially in the beginning, 8 to 10 months because the baby probably doesn't like you, or at least mine didn't. I couldn't really do much for him, yet it's hard.
Yeah, the no instruction manual comes with these things.
Not at all, and I am blessed. My parents divorced at an early age, so I say I'm blessed because I have two dads that were always there for me in different ways, but were always there for me And yet, as much as they were there for me, they didn't teach this part, if you will, that when, your newborn is sleeping, but they're breathing weird and you don't know what's happening, and like you record it to send it to the doctor. I mean, it's just, we have these fears in our mind as a fatherhood. And then, so again, like we said, is I have a 5-year-old son and I have a 1-year-old daughter. And having the daughter scares the living hell out of me, because that 1-year-old daughter is going to grow up, which RJ has a much older daughter, and that scares me.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so, we talked about that, and I didn't mention the age of my kids earlier. So I have 2 boys that are 31 and 28, and then a daughter that's 25. Yeah. And it is frightening when you have, my 2 sons are married, my daughter is not, and it's scary having she's at the end of that now. I don't have to be so scared because she's grown up, but having a daughter is much different, at least to a guy, than having the sons, because we know what we were like as guys when we were in high school.
It's terrifying.
That's what terrifies you.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a fearful guy, but that one scares me.
Yeah.
And man, my girl, I know I'm going to have to bail her out of jail. Not because she did anything wrong, but because someone pissed her off. I'm just going to be honest with you. The second child, right? But anyway, encompassing that fatherhood, there's a lot there, guys, that I want, again, back to the premise of this. We're not alone in this. We have to strive for this. We have to make this right. We have to, guys need to realize we're not alone. And so much of society feels like the guy just needs to bury it. Yet we don't have to bury anything, guys. We're in this together.
That's right. So true.
All right. The next one is something that we don't talk about enough as guys, and that's brotherhood. And when I say brotherhood, I mean the friendship. I believe, me personally, and I could be wrong by saying this, but women have a little bit of an easier time having the friends because there's luncheons, there's drinks out, there's happy hours, there's a lot of that, and guys just really don't do that. Expect maybe if you're into some hobbies, hunting, I think is a big part of that. Yet most hunters want to be by themselves. So I don't know. Brotherhood is a hard one.
It is. Yeah. And even when we're together, the guys who get together with your close friends and you happy hour, or you're meeting at a bar and you're going to watch a football game and drink beers, the conversation isn't deep and intense. And it's, you're talking football and you're talking about beer.
Right.
It's just not as easy to have those real close, tight relationships with guys. You had those friends when you were young. We laugh about that, when you're a little kid and you walk down the street and you see somebody and another guy, another kid, and you ran right up to him. Hey, you want to be my friend? Not so easy when you're an adult.
Yeah, I'm blessed because I have 2, honestly, childhood friends that I'm still extremely close to. And I honestly thought that's how the world worked. Like, everybody still has those. What I realize is that's not the case, because a lot of people have moved obviously away from their childhood or whatever it may be. But brotherhood, we're really going to dive deep into, because I think this is something that guys need to, A, know it's okay to go out and find friends to hang out with, and B, be transparent with your buddies. Don't try to put on this facade that everything's okay, because we all know it's not.
Right. We're all struggling with the same things.
Yeah.
So go ahead and mention it. You have somebody you can talk to. We've heard that term. You have to have refrigerator friends. Those guys that can come over to your house and open the refrigerator and grab out a snack or grab a beer and not have to ask you if that's okay. And that's rare. You just don't have a lot of refrigerator friends. Brotherhood is huge. You have that accountability group, the guys you can open up to where you're struggling, where you have, it doesn't have to be a struggle, just questions that you have.
Yeah.
What's going on just as we're going down this crazy path of fatherhood and life and work.
Yep. Absolutely. Guys, the next pillar after brotherhood is, I put it here as the least important, and I do believe that so many people think this is the most important, and yet it's not, and that's your career in business. And remember, the title of this is The Balanced Business Dad. This does not mean that you run a business. This means that you're in business. You're working. You're doing something to create a livelihood for your family, and it is extremely important, yet it's not the end-all, be-all. And I think that's so important. We're really going to dive deep into this because the balance on this is so important. Because my business, and I'm the owner, if something happens to me, it's just done, right? It's the family that's really going to take the hit. If something happens at my job or RJ's job, right, where RJ can't come there, they're going to replace him. The family, the brotherhood, the father, the husband, they're not going to replace me as easy. So I have to make sure I strive for that balance to make sure that every aspect is taken care of, yet while I'm earning that living. Guys, I also believe that career in your business should be a passion that you go into, right? It should be something you enjoy doing. We shouldn't dread what we do for a living. Not today, because money is easily made out there. So we can figure out how to do that, and we'd be happy to help that. We're really going to dive deep into that.
Yeah, life's not so good when 5 days a week suck, and you only look forward to 2 of them. Yeah. It just, none of us should be that way. It's not always it's much easier said than done in a lot of ways, especially for us people that work, as we joke about it, or we call it, the W-2 job. Hopefully that job is fulfilling. It's where you spend a majority of your waking hours. So that needs to balance in there somewhere. But hopefully it's some kind of a passion at least, because we don't want to only look forward to the 2 days off a week that we have, or 1 day. I know plenty of people that work 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. That's where the balance gets really, really hard. Dustin has a lot more flexibility than I do. Yep. Being a business owner and an entrepreneur, he has a lot of flexibility during the day. And during times he can do things with his kids. He can take them to school in the morning. He doesn't necessarily have to be somewhere at a specific time. So we talk about the word business, but boy, sometimes the balance is much harder for the guys that have a job over getting paid to, being paid to swap our hours for dollars. You're punching a clock. You have to be there at a certain time. You can't leave till a certain time. You can't just leave in the middle of the day. It's the hardest thing to balance with a family.
Yep, and there's sacrifices to be made there. I mean, I have just a quick story here. Is my dad's a nurse, right? He's a psychiatric nurse. And, obviously you don't clock out as a nurse. There's a 24-hour shift, if you will, as a nurse. Or you can work, any given time of the day. So one of the sacrifices my dad made is truly sleep. So he was a midnight worker my entire life, so he could take me to school, right? So there was a sacrifice there, and he really worked through that balance.
Wow.
But he would go to work when we were going to bed. He would work the whole night while we were sleeping, and he'd be there to take us to school in the morning and then try to sleep during the day while we're at school. Well, the problem is with that is things come up during the day. When do people call the house phone? And so I'm not as old as RJ, but we still had a house phone.
What the hell's a house phone?
But, so he'd be woke up through that, or if I was sick, or if my sister was sick, or whatever it may be, right? So he sacrificed sleep. So we have to work on that balance, and we have to realize that, the purpose of business or your job should be just to fund your perfect life.
Yeah, that's super important. Dustin says that all the time.
Yeah. Guys, these are the pillars. Again, I'm going to break them down, and that's going to be faith, health, marriage, fatherhood, brotherhood, and that career in business. And we're going to send out some deliverables that you're going to be able to find on our Facebook page and social media and stuff for how you can get this stuff, because I believe it's so important to take inventory on where you're at in these areas of life. Right? Are we in balance, or is one so out of whack versus the others, or is one just lacking to the other? And you have to take inventory, and I'm going to say monthly, quarterly, whatever it may be, but we'll have we'll help with that, if you will.
Yeah.
Guys, these are the pillars. All right, again, this podcast, guys, is going to be about those pillars that we just talked about, and we're going to bring in guests that might dive deep on just an individual pillar, or how they strive for balance, or do they answer the question, that overall question that I asked, does balance exist when it comes to these pillars? Guys, what I asked you...
By the way, that answer is no.
And see, RJ's pretty firm on that.
I don't think we're ever in balance. Ever, ever, ever. Thank God there's more than just 3 legs to this stool.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that all being said, guys, what I would love for you to do is your support. Go ahead and go out there, give us a star, give us a like, do all that fun stuff that we have on social media and the podcast, however you listen to this podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, your podcast app. Go ahead and like us, share it with your friends. You can like us at Facebook at facebook.com/thebbdad, or our website is thebalancedbusinessdad.com. You can email us at info@thebalancedbusinessdad.com. Guys, that's what I have. RJ, what do you got?
That's pretty much it. We're going to have fun going forward. So that's what I said. We will dig into each of these pillars, probably do an entire episode on them, on each one of them. We're going to bring in people, as Dustin said. We'll bring in some people that are, somewhat experts. We hate to use that word, but we'll bring in experts on each of them and let them dig into these. We're going to have dads on here. You guys out there that are listening to this, tell the stories and how you're working through this and how life is affecting you in all of these pillars. It's going to be a blast. We're just going to have fun. It's not going to be very heavy. I think this one seems heavier than it really is as we try to introduce it, but we're just going to have fun. And we may even drink a beer from time to time while we're doing this, but you'll never know.
Or maybe you will. You never know. You might hear it in the background. Yeah, guys, I agree. This is going to be light, yet we're going to grow at the same time. And my thing is, we're not alone in this. We're all in this together. And it goes back to that brotherhood. Let's help each other grow. and let's have fun while we're doing it. Guys, I'm out. Again, this is Dustin, my co-host RJ, and all we got to say is strive for balance.
See you guys.